Demonstrating the regime's security. Polling stations are closing in Venezuela's presidential election, but voting has been extended in some areas because of long queues. Hugo Chavez is fighting for re-election in what's predicted to be the country's closest presidential battle in a decade. Almost 19 million Venezuelans were eligible to vote. Well, let's take you there live now and talk to journalist Girish Gupta, who's on the line from the presidential palace in Caracas. Girish, what's the latest?
Well, I'm here outside. I've just had to move out. There's so much noise. I'm just outside the presidential palace, Caracas. And over the last couple of hours, we've just had thousands of people gathering, lighting fireworks in the streets. We've got motorcycles doing wheelies down the road. It's a real sense of a win here. Now, I've spoken to colleagues who are at the Capriles camp. Capriles was the contender, and it did seem to us to be the closest race yet in Chavez's 14 years. But apparently these guys are crying at the Capriles camp, and it seems, and it's not been confirmed, but it seems like it may have been a loss for Capriles, giving Chavez another 6 years in power, taking him over 20 years with the world's largest oil reserves.
And tell us, why is President Chavez facing such a tough race?
Well, because, I mean, he had cancer over the last year and a half, and people are simply getting tired. This country is one of the world's highest murder rates. It's comparable to that in Baghdad. Inflation's up near 25%. And people are easing the barriers, which is Chavez's traditional support. They've just had enough. And even this morning, I was up at 5, 6 o'clock, and people are telling me in the barrios that they were not going to vote for Chavez necessarily. And this is a change, and this is why we did expect a lot closer. Now, we don't know that Capriles hasn't won, but it seems from the latest that that's the case.
If the vote does go against him, Girish, would there be an orderly handover of power, or would there be some sort of problem?
If the vote goes against Chavez, I do not expect anything to be orderly. I mean, even tonight we've got these guys lighting fireworks in the street. We see a lot of these people are armed. There's militias up in the barrios, so we were expecting trouble. Now, the other way around, I don't think there will be trouble. There'll be a lot of upset, but I don't think there'll be violence if Chavez has won.
Girish Gupta, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us, and our apologies for the bad quality on audio on the line from Venezuela. But as you can imagine, the line's very busy out of Venezuela at the moment as journalists file reports. Now, the Pakistani military blocked a convoy. So the Venezuelan president, Hugo Chavez, has been re-elected. The country's electoral council announced the result a short time ago. Chavez took just over 54% of the vote as he brushed aside his opposition rival, Enrique Capriles. Well, the voting turnout was very high. We understand 80.94% of the people turned out. Joining us now from the presidential palace in Caracas is the journalist Girish Gupta.
Hello.
Girish, celebrations in Caracas tonight, a high voter turnout, but nobody really could call it at the start of this race, could they?
Well, it seemed that it would be the toughest race yet for Chavez. We all thought that Capriles had a great chance, and we did not expect such a big gap. I'm stood outside the presidential palace here, Miraflores, and it's gone nuts since we last spoke an hour ago. There's people setting fireworks off in the street, people doing wheelies on motorbikes on the main road, and you know, these guys will be here all night. The Capriles camp, on the other hand, is apparently crying, and you know, it's a massive loss for them. They really thought that they had toppled Hugo Chavez, or they would topple Hugo Chavez after 13 years in power.
Gupta, Girish, although there's been a victory tonight, it must be said it was a tight run race, as we've been saying. Why was there such strong opposition? Are people starting to tire of Chavez, although there's been this victory tonight?
Definitely. I was up at 5 in the morning, and obviously in the richer areas, people are not voting for Chavez. But in the barrios this morning, people were telling me that they've had enough. They've been telling me this for months now, since the primaries in February. And that's why we were thinking there was going to be this trade. But it seems that the state machinery has worked here. It's just quite a big gap, and it seems that Chavez is going to be staying in power for another 6 years. Obviously, he's suffering cancer, which was diagnosed last year. Whether he'll survive another 6 years is another question.
So I expect it's going to be one heck of a party in Caracas tonight. Venezuelans certainly know how to party, don't they?
They do know how to party. There's lots of drinking in the streets. They've been drinking all morning. I saw Chavez voters drinking at 7, 8 in the morning. There will be a lot of partying, but there will be the opposite. There will be a lot of crying here tonight as well. As I said, the opposition really thought they had it this time, and they haven't. And I don't expect they're going to stay unified. I think they're going to struggle over the next few years.
Girish Gupta, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
The Pakistani military blocked a convoy carrying
right now. Crawford, Sky News, Northern Syria.
Now, the Venezuelan president, in the centre of your screen there, that's Hugo Chavez, has been re-elected in Caracas. The country's electoral council within the last hour announced that result. He took just over 54% of the vote as he brushed aside his opposition rival Enrique Capriles, who has now officially conceded defeat. Well, he's making his triumphant speech, if you like, live in Caracas right now. You can see those pictures coming to us from Venezuela. And there in the crowd, listening to what he has to say outside the presidential palace, is journalist Girish Gupta. Girish, what's he saying?
I hope you can hear me okay. I'm struggling to hear you. I'm just looking over a sea of red outside Miraflores presidential palace. But these stairs have been congregated over the last few hours, and now I literally can see them all the way down the river on either side. There's so much noise, there's so many fireworks. I think you can probably hear the incessant air horn. These guys are celebrating like mad. They thought they'd win. I think, to be honest, I thought Capriles would have a much tighter margin and even win. This is a massive shock to the opposition. In fact, now I can see fireworks going off in the crowd. It's incredibly dangerous and a little bit. I don't think it's going to get violent here, but it's maybe a little bit tense. It's plenty of party atmosphere, but in the other camp, in the Capriles camp, the opposition camp, there's a lot of crying tonight. They really expected to win.
Girish Gupta in the crowd outside the presidential palace right there in Caracas, Venezuela. Thank you very much indeed. Difficult to hear Girish as he was talking to us on that phone line. Communications dropped out momentarily in Venezuela earlier on this evening under the sheer weight of journalists filing reports to foreign nations. Let's listen in then, if we can, to hear what there is left of the speech from President Hugo Chavez.
En la batalla de Carabobo, ¡viva Carabobo! La batalla de Carabobo.
So he has 6 more years to cement his legacy and press ahead with his crusade of socialism for Venezuela. President Hugo Chavez victorious in Venezuela tonight. The Pakistani military blocked a convoy carrying thousands of Pakistanis and a small contingent of